Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors work session to order, please. Roll call, please.
Board Member Hill,
Present.
Vice Chairman Patterson,
Present.
Chairman Atkins.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Will we please stand, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
County Administrator Rogers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the public. This afternoon, I wanted to provide a little background context for the proposed budget plan, and then I will turn the presentation over to our Finance Director to provide some additional details related to what is contained in your plan. So as we look at fiscal 27, I want to review what has led us to this point and put the FY 27 proposed budget into context, particularly for our longer range financial planning. And this context includes long-term fiscal planning as well as financial policies, particularly the importance of fund balance. So as we have outlined in previous presentations to the Board of Supervisors, the county experienced a drawdown of its cash balances during the fiscal 23 and 24 fiscal years. And that necessitated that the county engage and secure revenue anticipation notes. There were 2 revenue anticipation notes, one in fiscal 25 and one that was active for fiscal 2026. And these revenue anticipation notes were secured to ensure that we could meet our cash requirements for our day-to-day funding of operations. So when I arrived in June of 2025, we began making material progress towards improving our financial health. These steps include implementing immediate internal control measures related to our spending. We also implemented and improved our financial reporting. And we also secured a reimbursement borrowing for our capital expenditures that had been previously cash funded. The borrowing that was secured this December allowed the county to restore its cash balances to the highest levels that they had been since 2022. So the restored cash balances also allowed the county to repay the RAND from 2026 last month, which was ahead of schedule and saved over $50,000 in interest. So as you may recall from the last board meeting, on the screen above shows our projected cash balance as of March the 31st of 2026, bringing us forward. Well, and that number is $6.8 million. Bringing us forward to fiscal 2027, we have a replenished fund balance. The RAND is repaid with a goal of not needing to have revenue anticipation borrowing again. And the proposed budget has utilized the secured financings as well as grants to fund our capital improvement plan. This ensures that we can fund our capital needs without again depleting our cash funds and balance reserves. At this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Crawley Jones to walk through our capital improvement plan.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, board members. We will begin our review through the capital improvement plan. First, starting off with what is a CIP, just to give you a little background on what actually is a CIP, so that we will make sure that we are in line with what the definition is. The CIP is a planning tool for facilities, infrastructure, and major maintenance equipment and real property. Capital projects can consist of studies. Studies could be feasibility studies to build for example, a tourism center, land use studies for future projects, construction, including design and engineering. This would be, for example, building a school. Capital maintenance, which is major renovations. Say when we get to the point of deciding and identifying what the need for the neighborhood facility building would be. This would be a capital maintenance project for the renovations of the building. Also acquisitions of assets, real property and equipment. This is land use purchase, could go under this category, surveys, et cetera. Heavy equipment, hardware and software purchases, and vehicles. Typically for a CIP project, your useful life is to exceed 5 years. This is a picture of the proposed FY '27 through 2031 capital improvement plan. The biggest difference between the FY '26 budget and the proposed FY '27 budget is the capital improvement plan. And I will go through each of the projects for you. The first one is the Mount Zion Collection System. This is a current active project that we are working through to date. The funding source is the ARPA SCS 20 grant of $5.5 million, and this is a reimbursable grant. This project's completion date is to be ending in the mid-fall of 2026. Courthouse, Circuit Court, Courtroom. This is one of our proposed projects. The funding source will be from the 2025B capital bond proceeds in the amount of $200,000. It's to be determined the design and the vendor for this project, and the timeframe and engineering plan is for fiscal '27, construction to follow in fiscal '28. The next project, the Roofville wastewater treatment plant replacement. This project is one of our proposed projects in the Roofville area. We have two funding sources that have been confirmed for this project. The Southeast Crescent Regional Commissions Grant, $500,000, which is reimbursable, and the DEQ Clean Water Resolving Fund loan, which is $1,826,000. This will become one of our debt services once the loan is closed. And the timeframe for this will begin August of 2026 and will take 12 months to complete. The next project is the Courthouse Area Wastewater Treatment Plant Replacement Phase 1. This is a proposed project currently, and the funding sources are the DEQ Clean Water Revolving Fund. $1,500,000 has been secured. We're waiting for the loan to go into closing. This one will also become one of our debt services, and the remaining amount of $1 million will come from the 2025 capital bond proceeds. The next project is the Kimmages Wayside Water Storage Tank. This is a proposed project as well in the 106 corridor. The funding source for this is the Housing and Urban Development Grant for $3 million. This is a reimbursable grant. And this project is one of the projects that was contemplated during the construction of Fire Station 2. And the plan is for the water tower is for the future development of the 106 area. Moving on to our fleet vehicle replacement project. This is a proposed project. Funding source will be from the general fund cash of an amount of $45,000. The project will begin if the board's pleasure of the proposed budget is approved, July the 1st, 2026. This project, all of our fleet vehicles will go through this project, or this replacement project, I should say, going forward. Fleet vehicles will be purchased through the proper procurement guidelines and policies stated in the Virginia Public Procurement Act Fund per the Code of Virginia. We are exploring the opportunities that may combine purchasing powers and offer better rates in order for us to maintain our fleet at a reasonable cost. In the past process, allowed for departments to procure vehicles. However, under the fleet management, this will streamline the process and provide economies of scale to manage the cost of the vehicles. The next item is the public schools CIP request. Their request was for a new bus and the replacement of the elementary school carpet. The bus replacement is $160,000. The carpet replacement is $63,173. And the funding source for this project will come from the 2025 capital bond proceeds in the amount of $223,173. If you're looking in your budget and you were wondering, wanted to see where this amount is actually identified and presented, it is on page 65 and it's included in the capital schools fund line item. Are there any questions for the capital improvement plan?
If you don't mind, if we could go back and just look at, we started with the Mount Zion project, and you have that as a listed, as an active project. Could you just kind of briefly explain what the active means?
Sure. The active means that it is currently in progress and that there is no funding to approve in the fiscal '27 budget for this project.
So the funding will come out the 26 budget?
The funding was approved in fiscal year '23.
Oh, okay. And the second thing is, how will this help with the CIP help with our liquidation?
In regards to the illiquidity issue that we had in the past, all of the funding sources have been identified, and they are predominantly non-general fund funding sources. So this CIP does not use our fund balance to accommodate for these projects.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Now that we have a CIP with the utilities project included, does this address all of our issues with DEQ?
Yes, once the budget is approved in April, on the 28th at the next board meeting, we will be updating DEQ of our plans.
Okay. And also, regarding the courtroom project, have we done any major repair to the overall courtroom recently?
Yes, we have. This fiscal year, we had to replace the HVAC system, and that was done with the current available funds in the budget for FY '26.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Is there anything not included in this budget that you want to fund but we did not have the resources for? No, I'm asking the question.
I can answer.
Yes, sir. We do have a list of those items. I'm going to ask Ms. Carly Jones if there are no other questions about the CIP. Okay. We'll move to the operating side, and we can talk about those items when we get to the operating side.
All right.
Mr. Chair, County Administrator, I do have a few questions. So the Mount Zion collection system, this project, there's no proposed budget for this project because that project is already financially taken care of. So with that budget or that, was that a grant or loan or something that was approved in '23 to cover the funds that was approved in '23 to cover Mount Zion, would that carry over to this year, or is Mount Zion completed? Like, are we going to spend any more money or put any more dollars into Mount Zion for this coming fiscal year?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. So the funding was secured in 2023. A few months ago, the board approved the contract for construction to move forward. So the project, the funding had already been allocated, and then the board had to approve us to move forward with construction. So we wanted to show it as an active project, particularly because we have all of our utility projects in various states of disrepair. So we wanted to show an active project in our capital improvement plan. We understand that the board did not approve a CIP in the previous fiscal year. If there was a CIP in the fiscal year, this project would have likely been shown as a proposed project. So just for transparency, particularly as residents see the active work going on, we wanted to show this project in the CIP, but if you'll note on the funding summary, there is no funding allocations listed because that has already been taken care of in previous fiscal years.
Yes, sir. So just so I can understand this fiscal year coming up, 27, we will not be spending any dollars or putting in any dollars into Mount Zion collection system? Or the dollars that we do spend are the dollars that we gathered from 23?
Yes.
So that fund, can that fund or the rest of the remaining of that money be reflected in this budget?
So the way that the capital fund works is any unexpended funds at the end of a fiscal year, unlike in the general fund where they lapse and roll to fund balance, those monies are still eligible, they continue. So the funds that we'll use until the project is completed will exist until the project is complete. And that's true for all the funds in the capital fund.
Okay, so can we have that reflect or shown in this budget?
No,
In this budget.
It's not in this budget.
right. So can you go to the summary slide? So the way the capital budget works is the fiscal 26 column is there to show what was adopted by the board in the current year, which is nothing because there was no capital improvement plan in the current year.
Okay,
The fiscal 27 proposed is, this is the amount, these are the amounts that we are asking the board to approve as part of the budget. So on the 28th, you will see in the budget ordinance, you will see the funding for the operating side, and you will see those amounts included for appropriate adoption for the budget. 28 through 31, those are our plans for the next 4 years. And so you will not see budget amounts for approval in that budget ordinance. You will just see those as our plan to complete those projects. So fast forwarding to fiscal 28, if all plans work perfectly, the road will slide over. And so the fiscal 28 budget will need to include the funding amounts that are listed in that column.
okay. So the money that we are going to spend on the Mount Zion collection system for FY '27, where are we recording that at?
It's already been appropriated.
It's already been appropriated?
Yes, in previous years.
Okay,
And so going forward, as we also enhance our reporting, you will be able to see that on our financial reporting in the capital fund. Much of the work that we had to do this year with this year's budget is to organize things appropriately so that it aligns with our audit and other financial documents. So you will see those funds in other financial reports, but that's why there's no amount listed in the budget document because it's already been handled previously.
okay. I want to go to the courthouse. I just want to go page by page for the CIP, just real quick. Okay, so this project is to outfit the courtroom with this courtroom project, courthouse circuit court courtroom. This is outfitting that courtroom with the wood and the stage and getting it ready to be another courtroom.
Yes, it's for the courtroom. My understanding is that when the court was built, it was always intended to have a separate courtroom. Right now, the dockets are sharing courtrooms. So this project does the engineering and design to allow us to have a separate and distinct courtroom on the interior of the facility. Yes, sir.
And we're using that with the Capital Fund 2025B tax exempt revenue note. Is that what we just recently received?
That was the financing that was completed in December.
Okay.
Yes,
And that was a part of that 2-point-some million that we got tax-free?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now, that was for utilities. Is it going to be,
The entire 2.7 million was for CIP projects in general.
Okay.
The bulk of the CIP need is in utility, so you will see that included in funding for utility projects as well.
okay, so a portion of that 2 point we're going to use for the courthouse? Gotcha.
Could I back up just a second? Now, the Mount Zion project, that is on schedule to be finished in the fall of '26. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Rogers, going to Ruthville wastewater treatment plant facility. The DEQ Water Revolving Fund, that's a loan?
Yes.
How, do we have any information on this loan, or how did this loan come about?
I do have the I do have the information on it. I can provide it to you. I just don't have it with me at this moment.
Okay,
But it was a loan that was applied for through DEQ. They offer this clean water revolving loan quite a few times throughout the year. And we did apply for this project and for the courthouse project.
and that loan is, I think I heard you say 1.5 or 1 million?
The courthouse project is for 1.5 and the Roofville is the 1.8.
Okay, is it two separate loans, or
Separate loans.
is that the only, although the only two loans, or we're using that clean water fund for another project?
These are the only two loans for the wastewater treatment plant projects. It's one for the Roofville and one for the courthouse. So there is two separates.
Okay. And the Ruthville loan, what was that amount again?
Say that again, Mr. Patterson.
I'm sorry, the Ruthville loan, the Ruthville wastewater?
1.826.
And the courthouse area wastewater treatment?
1.5.
Oh, I got you. Okay, yeah, just the, when we have to pay it back with the percentage and all that good.
So we'll have all that information once we close on the loan.
So we have not gotten approved for that loan yet?
They are approved. We are going through the process of providing the paperwork to DEQ to go to closing in the fall.
Okay.
And Mr. Patterson, I would just add that from the meetings with DEQ, we've laid out the plan, and so we want to make sure that the board approves the plan, which is the budget, and then we'll proceed to closing with all of these projects.
Gotcha. Kimmage, the Kimmage Waste side. This is the water tower or the water storage tank, the HUD grant. This was funding source back in '23. Do we have the total on it, and have we tapped into that grant at all?
Say that again.
The HUD grant from 2023, have we tapped into that grant?
We have not used any of the funds yet for
Okay.
this grant.
And how much is that?
$3 million.
He said this one was refundable or
It's reimbursable.
reimbursable? Yes. And is any matches for this grant?
No. All of the grants for the wastewater projects are reimbursable except for those two loans.
Two loans, correct. The vehicle fleet replacement, who's this for? Oh, countywide and Public Works. So how many vehicles are we proposing?
So there's no determined amount of vehicles for this project. In the past, as we detailed earlier, individual departments would procure vehicles on their own. So this is to centralize that process as well as to benefit from economies of scale for Charles City County Public Schools vehicle needs as well. So once this is approved, we will identify a vendor that will streamline that process and allow us to purchase vehicles. So we've allocated $45,000 to begin this process. And once those vehicles are identified, typically that is those lease arrangements, we would bring an item to the board to have the board approve the purchase for that fiscal year.
Yes, sir. And outside of the school, I think they needed or requested a bus, a van, and a car or something like that.
So not the bus, just the car and the van would be
car and the van.
included. Yes, sir.
Tracking. Is there any other department that has requested a vehicle?
So the departments that use or have the leases would be Public Works and the Sheriff's Department. Those are they probably are the departments with the most vehicles, but this would be eligible for any department to use. What we're trying to do is centralize our fleet, so we can't do everything in one fiscal year, but we know that the sheriff and fire and EMS, they have unique vehicle needs, but for most other departments, a vehicle for community development and public works just to transport, they're all about the same type of need. So we're trying to consolidate that and have a centralized fleet management.
Okay. That's the idea is in-house fleet management, nothing, we're not contracting anyone out or?
Well, the benefit of the lease program is that most of the maintenance can be handled in those lease terms.
Okay.
And we do have a process where we already are able to do some maintenance on our own or contract it out through other venues. So the main benefit for this is we get to streamline that. Our finance director can better control and document costs, and we should be able to get better prices with the economy of scale.
Yes, sir. I believe the Public Works, we picked up a couple new vehicles last year, a couple new trucks.
We received one new truck last year.
Okay, and we already touched on the schools. So I was just concerned about the other projects outside of the schools. Is this water tank, is this going behind the firehouse or on 106 or Image and Waste side? Where's
106.
106? Okay. Okay, so just the information about the loans, the two loans, and I guess the grants as well. The SCRC grant, that's another grant that we do not have to match, and it is also reimbursable.
For the Mount Zion project,
This one is for Ruthville.
for the Roofville project.
Yes.
Yes.
And when was this grant awarded?
For the Roofville project, I will have to get that date for you. It was a previous fiscal year.
It's like a 23 or a 20, something like that? Okay. Well, obviously 20-something.
I believe it was, honestly, actually, hold on, I'm sorry. These were procured this year. The Southern Crest, I was getting confused. The Southern Crest Regional Commissions Grant, we received that one this year.
Okay. And we have that total as well?
500,000?
Okay. And is that grant being split with another project, or is that 500,000 solely going straight to Ruthville wastewater?
It is going towards the Roofville wastewater treatment plant. If, I believe if this grant allows us, if the full amount is not utilized, it can be used on to another project.
Okay, is that the same for the other grant as well? The HUD grant?
No,
Okay.
unfortunately.
But all 3 million would most likely be. And is there anything, or is there any reason why there's no plan for 29 and 30? For the Kimmage or the courthouse area? We plan to have everything done? Yes. Gotcha. All right. Thank you, guys. Mr. Chair, that's it for my CIP project.
Thank you.
Questions?
So we'll move towards the expenditure highlights. For a more streamlined approach of tracking costs as you review the proposed budget for FY '27, you will notice that there are changes to how department line items are presented. For instance, this is an example on the screen of the finance department's budget. You will see that the benefit lines are all inclusive of FICA, health, dental, and insurance, and the employees' retirement benefits are all included within the VRS retirement line. So this will be a similar depiction as you go through all departments' budgets through the proposed book. To continue our efforts in efficiently tracking costs, we have placed better controls in place to account for the cost. Enterprise-wide, as you review the budget, you will notice that postal services are all allocated under the finance department on page 27. The gasoline, you used to see it throughout all department budgets. However, it has been streamlined under a fleet management line on page 30. The only department that is not included in the gasoline or the fleet management line is the sheriff's office, and that's due to the nature of their fill-up for fueling purposes that they have. Is a little different from any regular fleet vehicle that we have. Professional services, you will see that listed on throughout various departments. And as a part of our regular reporting, we will provide the board with an active contract reporting quarterly that will list those services for professional services. This will give you an idea that they are different departments that have a need for contractual services. Workman's compensation and LOTA has been included under human resources on page 28, and our countywide property insurance now is located under non-departmental on page 67. Moving forward, our expenditure highlights, public utilities, which is, you will see a general fund transfer on page 16. The utilities department has been operating at a deficit, and this was, or has been presented to us in our audit reports. The only revenue that is incurred from our utilities fund is a collection from water and sewer. This budget presents a transfer from the general fund in the amount of $262,032 for the operations of the utility fund.
I do have a question for you. As it relates to this type of category of budget development, the controls are within such as placing them in one place that we can monitor more closely? Okay.
Yes. For debt services, all county debt obligations have been detailed and accounted for the fiscal year of '27. You will see in your budget book an amortization schedule has been included for transparency in the appendix section on pages 89 through 92. As of FY '25, county's legal debt limit is approximately $108 million. And this is a depiction of our debt service schedule. Are there any questions?
Yes, can we go back to the expenditure highlights? The transfer from the general fund, when did that take place?
Or are you speaking for utilities?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Did that already take place? Did we already transfer that? and
no,
put
this
it
is
in?
for fiscal '27.
Okay, so this is proposed. Okay. Chair, I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Hold up, Mr. Chair. Just, I was a little premature with my other previous question. Just want to know, is there anything not included in this budget that you wanted to fund, but that we don't have the resources for?
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Yes, there were a number of priorities identified that we could not fund within the available resources. One related to personnel. There are no across-the-board enhancements via salary changes or additional FTEs. Additionally, there were a number of capital improvement needs that we identified, but we could not fund responsibly within the proposed budget. And there are also some software and technology needs that we know we'll probably need to get to, if not next fiscal year, in future fiscal years. So we do have that list, and that is the majority of those items that we were not able to include in this budget.
Okay, and just one more. In our last work session, you reviewed the financial policies. Have these been incorporated in this budget?
Yes, sir. The financial policies that we want to adhere to in terms of best practices have been put into place in the proposed budget. Additionally, the legislation that the board will receive for the approval will contain those best practices. In addition to the budget ordinances and other required ordinances, we will also have before the board a comprehensive set of what we're calling financial policies or financial best practices that we will ask the board to approve along with the budget. The primary elements of the financial policies will speak to things such as reserve limits, unassigned fund balance, and other mechanisms to make sure that we are on a path of sustainability.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so upcoming for FY '25 budget dates, we are currently, as of today, in our Board of Supervisors budget work session. On Thursday, the 9th, we will have a budget Q&A. On the 16th, we will hold a budget public hearing for the county and for the local appropriation to the Charles City County Public Schools. This has been advertised. And then on the 28th, we are looking for action by the Board of Supervisors for the FY '27 budget approval.
So could you take an opportunity to kind of run through the social services budget?
Sure. The social services budget, the
852.
Virginia Department of Social Services is a state agency. It's allocated into 4 divisions, and it's allocated within 2 funds for budgetary funds. The majority of Department of Social Services services and administration are services and administration and program divisions, as you will see in the budget book. In the FY '27, there is a proposal for the food pantry operations to be transferred to the Department of Social Services. And you will also see the Child Services Act listed under social services.
You talking about CSA?
Yes, CSA.
Okay, thank you.
In FY '27, we will be establishing an MOU between the county and the food pantry for operation services under social services.
And we'll continue with the CSA MOU?
Yes, with New Kent.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
In general, and I think you've kind of hit on some of this on our financial policies, which we'll put together. How is this budget, which it will, accomplish a balance, and what types of controls as relates to revenues and expenditures will we be anticipating putting in place?
I think the control measures in terms of balance, the primary item that I'd like to highlight is we're legally required to propose a balanced budget, and so we've effectively done that. But more importantly than that, we also have a structurally balanced budget. And so one-time revenues only being used for non-recurring expenditures helps to make sure that we are sustainable in our budgeting going forward. So that's probably the biggest element that we have in the 27 budget that gets us on that path. Also, the budget has been completed in terms of best practices, even without the adopted financial policies. So once we adopt the financial policies with this budget, we are already on track to meet the criteria to make sure that we're sustainable. One example of that, as our finance director alluded to, we have a statutory debt limit, and even with the debt service that we have enumerated, the county is well below our debt limit. So our debt to income ratio, our debt to assessed value, those types of ratios are what we will see in the financial policies that will be before the board. But we have compiled or created this budget to adhere to those policies even in advance of the board's action.
Thank you.
One other note, probably primarily the most, I said the structural balance was most important, but the other thing I want to talk about, the revenues. So the budget was built at the existing tax rate and the existing values. And that is significant because there is not additional revenue that we are projecting in this current budget based on that tax rate. You will also note what we are looking forward to is improving our collection rates. So there are delinquent taxes that we need to be aggressive about collecting, and I'm confident that we'll be able to do that. And I'm also looking forward to improving our on-time collection rate for our taxes. As we discussed in the previous meeting, those rates have been declining. So we built this budget responsibly, knowing what those declining rates were, but we are hoping that we see, or we are planning to see, increase in both on-time as well as collection of delinquent taxes as well.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
No.
Gentlemen?
Are we on the verge of wrapping up?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So, did you have anything, Mr.? I thought we were going to take it from the top, go through line by line.
We can. We provided the presentation to just get the conversation going. So
Okay.
We're ready for any questions you might have.
Perfect. Can we go over the departmental budgets, please? Guess we can start with the Board of Supervisors and we just go page by page.
Sure.
So some of the budgets that I have been used to receiving, we had more detailed information as far where these numbers are generated, you know, and the justification for this, for some of these proposals. Things small as like directors' remarks and their comments, what they need, you know, from their department and whatnot, and what are they going to do with the funds, you know? Where's it going? How's it being spent? I don't necessarily see that in here, so I have a lot of questions in regards to that. Based on what's in front of me in this financial summary from the Board of Supervisors, the first question was the travel and anything that's blank. You know, I'm like, well, why is it blank? Where's the travel, the lodging, the professional services, whatever. I'm not too sure what professional services are. And then the KRA, professionals. What's that KRA, professional services?
Okay, do you want me to lead? Okay, so this is another item that you will see, as I mentioned, that some of the department lines have been adjusted to accommodate certain categories. All of the travel, mileage, travel, and sub and lodging have been placed under travel and education. So instead of having separate line items for each thing that's travel related, we included it all under one line item. So you see the travel and education is the $10,000 for fiscal year '27 for Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
The professional services, the items that were originally included for professional services on the Board of Supervisors have been placed under the departments that they identify with. And then for the KRA professional services, this was for the service that the treasurer's office uses for tax collection, delinquent tax collection. So they have been placed under professional services under the Treasury's Department.
Okay. And we approved that mid-fiscal year of this current year?
This is the plan for the proposed for the next fiscal year. So these adjustments and changes are for the future, for
Yes,
fiscal '27.
yes,
So it'll be approved for in this budget,
okay.
if that's what you were.
So what do we spend $2,500 on under professional services for,
KRA?
yes?
That is the service that they use.
I see the
The
projected.
actual that was actually expensed in fiscal '25 was the 1,509. This is for the services that or the amounts that go towards the collection of delinquent taxes through the treasurer's office. So this would be their portion of the fee
Okay,
for their services.
So let me, if I can add, what you have in the budget book, which we did not see in the previous adopted budget, you have the previous fiscal year, which is fiscal '25. The first column is what the board adopted. The second column is what was actually spent. Then fiscal '26 adopted, which is what the board adopted when it approved the budget. And then the next column is projected. So that is what we are, as fiscal '26 has not yet closed, that's what we're projecting will be spent. So to your question about how the numbers were derived, yes, there is narrative for some of the expenditures, but we also are showing the trends of the expenditures so that you can see what the board had previously approved, what previously happened from an audited fiscal year, what the board has approved for the current fiscal year, and what we're projecting. So we can explain the actual narrative, but we were hoping to give the board and the public an idea about what has historically been approved by the board and what we are basing our projections off of for fiscal '27 by including that information.
okay. Our county attorney is $200,000. Is that a flat rate throughout the whole year, or will it go up if it needs to go up?
So that line item is for the contract for Sands Anderson. So that's what we are projecting in the current year, in the current fiscal year to spend. So that's why the number is 200,000 also for the proposed 2027.
Okay. The way our contract is with, and speaking of, I would like to see that contract as well with Sands Anderson in the county, because I haven't seen it. But the way that contract is, it's just $200,000. Is there a possibility that it can be more than that? Or is it the flat $200,000 and we can have them for 30 hours, 40 hours, any given day?
No, it's not.
I don't know the scope of the contract, but the $200K, is that like more of a starting point, or?
No. When did Sands Anderson get a contract? Was that 2024?
Yes, and then their rates it's based on their rates per person.
Yeah, they have an hourly rate. The contract, I believe, was initially in 2024, so perhaps fiscal '25 is when that contract began. So that's why I was explaining the columns. The amounts that are included in proposed, unless there is a specific reason, the projection or the proposed budget numbers are reflective of the previous historical spend as well as the projected spend from '26. So I've just used that as an example. What was budgeted in the current year is 200,000. And so that's consistent with what the projection is, and so that's what we've included in '27.
Okay. In '25, we went over that 200,000 mark, though.
In 25.
That's correct, and you
And
also
we
know,
adopted 135 when we ended up spending 271.
right.
Okay. Do we need to increase that?
Based on what we see right now, this is what we're recommending.
Thank you, sir. Can we go to County Administrator?
Yes, sir.
And again, without the, the words behind the numbers, I don't know the why, right? So the part-time salary, who's the part-time county administrator? What's that?
It's not, this is the county administrator's office. So there's a part-time position in the county administrator office. So that part-time line is for the part-time staff assigned to the county administrator's office.
Okay, is that position filled?
Yes.
The advertising, this is the county administrator office, right?
Yes.
Okay, what would the office be advertising for $2,000?
Public notices primarily related to the board activities or county activities.
Okay. Postal services, there's nothing there?
That's correct. So on the previous slide, that postal services line from all of the agencies, as you'll flip through, has been consolidated.
Okay.
Yes, into the finance department. So when we get to finance department, that line item is for countywide postal service. Yes.
Across the departments?
Right.
Yes, sir.
And just a little more information on that. We have a postal services contract. And so this is a way to better account for the cost that covers all the county departments.
And may I add, some of these changes as relates to having accountability for verifiability, which means each department will not be spending independently. It should be coming through just one source, and that should be better closely monitored. Am I correct?
That's correct. And much of the work that we're doing in this fiscal year is trying to establish a better baseline for spending going forward. So some of these updates have been made to also do that as well.
Okay. Travel and education, 14,000 for the county, or the office of the county administrator?
Yes.
What's the justification behind that?
So just like in other agencies, you had other line items that were consolidated into travel and education. And so this is supporting the travel, training, and education for the entire county administrator's office.
And how many people are in that office?
At present, there are 3 people in that office, and there is also a vacant position in that office.
So that would be 4 full-time and 1, or 3 full-time and 1 part-time?
Yes.
Okay. And what, I guess the events, not events, but the training, I guess it's like your ICMA or
That would be an example.
things of that?
Yes.
You already have that lined up?
No, and again, this is for the entire office, so that's
For the 4 people?
right,
Right.
right.
And is that already, they're already registered for this event or these training?
No,
How do we get that? This is the type of questions that I had. Like, how do we get that number, 14,000, for these 4 people for training?
so we have ballpark costs for the trainings that people have done historically in these offices, and so that's generally where that funding amount comes from.
Gotcha.
For something like travel and training.
Okay. Would and all these questions, like if it's something simple like the postal services where you consolidate it, right?
Right.
I understand that. But something like this, travel and training, can we have more information justifying these numbers? Last year, we had proposals, we had, again, what they're going to do with the money, how much is this going to cost? Ms. Boone went somewhere, it costs X, Y, Z. You know, these type of requests usually comes with reasons and words behind the numbers justifying the, you know, the amount. Is it possible to see that before the next time we meet? We had the dates up there, but they're gone now. But I think we're meeting the 16th or something like that, and
The public hearing, yes.
yeah. So today's the 7th, the 9th, that's community. So I guess in between now and the 16th or the 28th, so we can have these numbers so we can see what we're, I guess, essentially approving. You know,
So your request is specifically to know what the plan is for the $14,000 of travel and training in the county administrator's
yep,
office?
for each line item, to know, for each line item, yes. Yes.
For all departments or just?
Y'all, just like we did last year and the year before last. Yes, ma'am. So the,
Do you understand? Okay.
I have, yeah. See this? Take a look at the FY '26 Department Agency Budget Request. It's pretty lengthy in their justifications and the reasoning for such request. Invoices, and whatnot. The miscellaneous for County Administrator's Office, there's nothing there. FY '26, it was 7,500, now there's nothing.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that if you're okay with that.
Well, as I was explaining, I know you're talking about justification. In years past, travel and education was charged to the miscellaneous line item.
Okay,
So it's a little more transparent to not use a miscellaneous line item. So that's why I said the $14,000 for travel and education is to support all of that for the office, which had previously been charged to that miscellaneous line, even in the current fiscal year.
okay. And I'm not coming down on you or anything like that. It's just questions that I have because this is something that I'm not used to.
Oh, no, I understand. I was just saying that one is an example of something that had been consolidated, like we were saying before. That was a little unique because it says miscellaneous, so it doesn't say what it
Right.
was. But that's an example. That's an example like we were referencing before.
And again, the gasoline goes back to Public Works, right?
Right.
So the membership and dues,
Yes.
that's for your entire office?
That also includes county-wide memberships to things like the National Association of Counties. So it's for the individuals as well as the organization.
Okay, okay.
And again, just to provide context, the other thing about the detail is there are some expenses that were not accounted for in our annual budgets. So that's also why, even though that looks like a large increase, some of these expenses were not accounted for and may have been charged to various different places. Some of these dues and membership, for example, were, just because the page is close, were charged to the Board of Supervisors budget in various line items as well. In years past.
Right. And those dues and memberships, again, with the organization and the amount of the membership fees listed, I guess, per person is it's usually what I'm used to seeing. However, is this a ballpark figure, this 15,000?
Yes,
Or just
and
going 1,000 more than the 14,000?
Yes, and I understand I wasn't here for the previous budget seasons, but it would be impossible for someone to tell exactly what they would spend on something like that. So we can, absolutely, at this juncture, I'll just give you an example.
Right.
For example, there are conferences that we know the organizations are having that don't have the price for the conference yet, for example, because we're talking July 1 of this year to even begin this and taking us to June 30, 2027. So that's just an example. So in terms of the justification, that's why, again, we use historical expense. I can tell you the names of organization, the types of expenses. We can show you what has historically been spent in various line items as well. But the goal here was to provide better information and do things best practice versus what had been done prior to.
Okay. And in this case, prior to the last two that I've personally experienced, I prefer that method.
Well, and we can, and we're happy to, I know we're having a work session today, but we're happy to sit down one-on-one with all the board members as well and go through whatever information you would like as well.
Absolutely. Professional development, $10,000. Historically, it's been 15, 18, 1,000, 1,000. It's $10,000 for 4 people, 4.5 people.
Right, and again, the county administrator's office had a miscellaneous line item where things were not really planned.
Okay.
I hesitate to say what the plan was not being here, but it was not a very transparent description of a line item. So miscellaneous costs for dues, memberships, professional development, travel and training, a lot of those costs were previously charged to that miscellaneous line item.
And what would a professional development be? What was that, like a course or?
That could be a county-wide, something for employees. It could be something for office. We've tried to consolidate any county-wide development activities within the HR department as opposed to the board or the county administrator's office. And it also could include other things for the employees of this office that are related to, they might not be specific training, but they could be development activities.
Okay, so what you're saying, someone in HR could get certified or get some training, and this, under this line item, that would cover it?
Well, if it's training, we more so want to try to charge that to that training line item.
All right, well, what's the
Professional development could be like taking a class that is not necessarily training. It could be an update on something that we're already required to do. For example, the county administrator is responsible for budgeting. So if you took a budgeting course that was not a certification, that would be development. Or it could be something countywide. It could be getting an update. I know this is not the finance department, but it could be getting an update on the new accounting principles that come out on an annual basis, that type of activity.
Gotcha. Now, is that exclusive for your office, or is that countywide?
In the past, it's probably been a little more broad, but what we're intending to do is to have that concentrated on this office for that particular line item.
Okay. And then professional services, is that like, what's that?
Yes, that is, can we go back to the other slide?
Well, for you, what is, well, not you, but for your office, what would that be?
So again, in the past, there have been, as you saw in the Board of Supervisors, there's been charges related to the treasurer. There have been, even going back beyond fiscal 26, charges for audit assistance. So for this, for fiscal 27, these types of services would be anything that we might need to, that we haven't identified yet, where we may need to have a small purchase contract. The goal is to plan in advance and earmark those funds in advance prior to the need arising so that we have available funds to contract out small things. An example of that could be creating a document that we may not have the capacity to do in-house that we may be able to utilize.
Like an ordinance or?
Maybe not an ordinance, but maybe like a, we do a lot of flyers in-house, but maybe we need to do a FAQ document or a mailer that we need a professional firm to put together and do for us.
Okay.
But so these are not specific in all instances that we know what the need is. The goal is to use that professional service line in departments for those needs that arise. Because what has happened in the past is those things have gone unbudgeted. So our goal is to budget for them so that when the need arise, we have the available resources. And it's transparent in the fact that we know needs arise that we don't always know today when we present the budget.
And then I guess just an explanation of how we came about that $30,000 figure for professional services.
Right, well,
And
since,
this is a new line item, and I understand that we consolidated and we kind of moved things around. There's no more miscellaneous, but there was never $30,000 in miscellaneous.
right, and like I said, the professional services is intended to be, it's not brand new. There were professional services in previous fiscal years, but this is for, this is pre-planning in advance for the type of services we would need to engage with small contracts. So the $30,000 amount is a reasonable amount for a fiscal year for the types of things that may come up. For example, like I mentioned, mailers, flyers, those types of things as it relates to the county administrator's office. Other departments may have some, a little more detail.
Okay. And now this professional services is just for your office though, right?
Correct.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you, sir. Go to Board of Elections and General Registrar. Now, they have 2 pages, right? So the board member's salary, that has increased?
They are a part of
Couple
the-
$100?
Yeah, they get an increase along with the state increases, the mandated state increases that happen. It's been happening yearly, like last year they was 3%, this year's proposed to.
Election officials is that 36,000. It was projected for 40,000. Is there a difference or is there a reason for that?
This number can fluctuate due, as you noticed, the past year, we had multiple elections outside of the general one a year, and this year we're having 3, I believe. So it can, this is for the support at the day of elections, and then they also have staff that they hire to work for early voting.
Okay. Their travel, has that been consolidated somewhere else? Their travel and mileage?
The line below it.
Say it again?
Yeah, the travel and mileage is 0, but their travel, which has conference and education, is at the,
Okay.
right below it.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Dues and memberships, is that all for their dues and memberships? They don't need? I think they have 3 people in that office. Is $120 gonna cover their dues and memberships?
This is for the board.
Oh, this is for the board?
Right.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so, yeah, so still 3 people on there, okay, okay. Is that $120 gonna cover their 3 people for the dues and memberships?
That's what was adopted in '26, that's what's projected in '26.
27.
Well, it's adopted in '26, projected in '26, proposed for '27. Yes, sir.
Okay. Their miscellaneous, it's no longer. Okay, election support, what's that? It's projected for 25,000, and now it's 3,500.
This is also, it's inflated by the number of elections that they have. This goes for if they need signage. I'm just thinking of what invoices have come through my office that they have identified as election support, signage, ballots, any resources that they need to conduct the election
Okay.
through the board. This
Correct.
is the board. And also remember that the department has their
Their own
own,
operating.
so that they can split the cost between the two, or they may use one over the other.
Okay. So in FY '26, it was 25,000. Here, we're proposing 3,500. Did we put more into the operation since we took less out of their board?
Well, the 25 is what's projected for them to end the year with, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
due to the number of elections and
Gotcha.
early voting.
Understood. I see it. Okay, so if we turn the page, we have Board of Elections and General Registrar. Okay, Electoral Board, Registrar's Office. Gotcha. Their salary went down, 33,000 some dollars for their regular salary. Is there any reason as to why that is? I believe they're gonna be adding one more full-time person there.
So there was fluctuation in staff in the current fiscal year. So this is all of the salary lines that you see from department to department are the full personnel complement, fully funded with the benefits. So that number was based on what we actually fund.
Their retirement went down as well. The VRS retirement.
Right, so typically if, and as we flip through other departments, it should be corresponding increases and decreases based on year over year for salaries. We should have a corresponding decline with the retirement benefit because the retirement for VRS is a percentage of salary.
Okay. And again, their postal services will be coming out of finance budget? No more miscellaneous?
Correct.
Okay. Now, is this department over budgeted? Did they go over?
For fiscal '26, it is projected to do so, yes.
So right now, they're currently over?
Yes.
We need to, for the Board of Elections, well, the Registrar's Office, it's best if they're budgeted for 4 elections. Because we never know when an election will happen, right? We didn't know about the governor's special election. We didn't know about the citizens' special election. So, you know, at any given quarter or anything like that, an election can take place. And I believe if we're budgeting them for 4 elections, they won't be overdrawn right now. I believe they were overdrawn last year too. I believe they may have been overdrawn the year before that. So until we budget for 4 elections, I think they're gonna keep being overdrawn. Usually when we have the departments as well, I see the expenditure reporting for there. I didn't see it on here unless I'm missing something. But due to the recent changes in that office, training is definitely going to be needed. So is that accounted for in their proposed budget?
They've been proposed for $4,000 for training.
Okay, is that going to be enough? $4,000. I remember last year one was like $2,300 for one person.
For an office like this, that the expenditures can fluctuate based on, as you mentioned, elections that you didn't plan for. Typically, what would happen is once something like that is called, they would make a additional budget request, and we would bring that to the board. That's typically how we would handle unplanned, something like an election that we know is going to incur additional costs that we had no way to plan for. So that is something that, for a registrar's office, that we can do moving forward.
Okay. And how can we better address that department going over budget at the rate that they have been going over?
Well, in the current fiscal,
Consistency, they have been going over.
right. In the current fiscal year, they're projected to go over budget. So we'll be happy to work with them. We understand there were unplanned activities that they had to incur. So we will come to the board with a plan to accommodate those requests. Going forward, or not those requests, those costs. I
get you.
Right. Now, going forward, the budget is built off of what we can identify and control, and the process going forward will be, if anything is not able to be identifiable at the time, then we'll bring that back to the board for a budget amendment.
Okay. So would something like their move be included in the budget? Can their relocation be a budgeted item?
It could be, yes.
Okay. How can we make that happen? How can we? It could be. How can we? But they need to move. That's no secret, right? The current space that they're in is not accommodating, especially for these early voting. So we can budget their move for this fiscal year coming up.
Yes, sir. The budget belongs to the board now.
Right.
We propose it, so.
Well, I guess I'm making it known that this is a department that needs to be moved. It's no secret that they need to be moved, and their moving is not budgeted. So can we get that calculated and budgeted? Or do we have to vote on that?
What I would say, after we go through all of the questions today, if there are amendments that you all would like to make, we can.
Understood. Yes, sir.
I just have a general question. Would that a move go on in their budget?
It doesn't necessarily have to. That's why I said maybe after we go through all the questions, any changes that the board would like to make, submit those, and we can process, review, and go from there.
Absolutely. And if it doesn't go under their budget, whose budget would it go under?
Well, we haven't gotten the request
Mr.
yet,
Chair,
so.
who's would it?
It probably would go in a public work.
Of work, doing all the hauling and.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. I can go to Center for Local History. It's a nice department. It's one of our smaller departments. We have to stop by from time to time and show Miss Judy some love. Miss Judy Ledbetter, right? That's who is running this department, Center for Local History.
I believe it's Nancy Fopp.
It's Nancy who?
Fopp.
Nancy Fopp. Okay. So they are only part-time positions, and their proposed salary has decreased a couple thousand. I did have a conversation with Ms. Ledbetter. She wanted to know if the benefits were, I guess, like FICA and whatnot, but we got that question, yeah. Postal services, got that answered. Public engagement, that's no longer there.
And just so you know, also, the figures you see under proposed are what the department heads provided. So she did not allocate any or identify any funds for that category.
Okay.
Well, and for that one specifically, there are no funds budgeted in this current fiscal year for that as well.
You talking about public engagement?
Public engagement,
Okay.
right.
Okay. Okay, okay, yeah, it's just a side note. She wanted us to do an amendment on the zoning ordinance on signs. There are a couple local signs, sign markers, that were once put up and they got hit by a trailer or a hurricane or whatever. They're down now, and she would like to have them placed back up.
Are these the historic markers?
Yeah, the local ones, yes. Yeah. Yes, I think it's about 4 markers, and they're 2,800 each. Okay, Commissioner Revenue, gentlemen. What's the ratio to full-time and part-time?
This department has one part-time,
Okay. And how many full-time?
3.
3 to 1. Cover postal services. Did they receive did they get a new hire, a new employee this current fiscal year? And salary it's actually decreased, a couple hundred. Okay, I'll go to the next page. Excuse me. The treasurer. Treasurer has no part-time?
No,
And how many are in that office?
3.
3. So you're handling all the postal services? Okay. Travel and education, 2,000. Someone's taking advantage of that this year or next year? Or is that just kind of, we just throw that in there? Someone will use this money?
Courtney, she does use the funds when she does her treasurers group. They have a yearly meeting. So this will cover any registrations as well as lodging.
Okay.
And it may be other, I know that's one conference that she attends yearly.
Now, what would the treasurer's professional services be? If the board is covering that? Well, what would the treasurer's, yeah,
That was budgeted in the board agency previously.
okay.
Right.
I didn't understand, these are actual dog tags? $600 for dog tags? What are the dog tags used for? This is just straight curiosity now.
The dog tags, you're supposed to register your dog in the county. So this is, and every year from conversations with her, I ask the same question. You're supposed, if you have a dog, you're supposed to have it registered.
I'm very familiar with that,
And you're
yes.
supposed, and I think yearly the tags change
Okay.
color so that you know that if anyone sees it, they know that is an updated purchase for registration. And then if you have a kennel, your dogs are supposed to have tags.
That's right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Finance. I see postal service went up. So you have, how many part-time do you have?
I have 1,
And how many full-time?
2.
Okay. Yeah, you're pressed. What would your professional services?
My professional services is for audit purposes. we have a consultant that assists us with audit preparedness.
Okay,
And that's the same as the one we had this year, where we,
who's that?
Cherry Becker.
Okay, okay, I was thinking Miss, oh, whoa, Miss Burrell.
Oh, she
Oh, no.
Right,
pro
right.
bono.
I got you, I got you.
She's
Okay.
never been compensated
Pro
for
bono,
anything.
that's right,
Yes, sir.
that's right.
With the Berkeley Group.
What?
Yes, sir.
Go to Human Resources. I didn't know if this was a typo or if we're moving salaries around, a salary is gonna be placed under the administrator's office or not, but it's 57,000, so someone is gonna take a pay cut or?
That's correct. That's from the other salaries in the county administrator's office.
Okay, right. So now, how many people will be in this department?
There's two,
Two.
full-time, one part-time.
Okay, okay. Full-time, one part-time. So is there a vacancy in this department?
No.
They have a consultant, a third-party consultant for $3,000. Who's that? Down the training is 3,000.
This line has been used for the posting of job postings through, like Indeed,
For advertising?
for advertising, yes.
Oh, I'm on the consultant.
Right, well, no, this is
3,000.
what we've used this consultant line for in the past 2 fiscal years to accommodate online postings for job postings.
Okay. And what will we be using it for this year?
This line should be for assistance with the administration of benefits. It's typically what that type of third-party consultant is,
Third-party consultant for, say it again?
for the administration of benefits.
Administration of benefits. Okay. And we already have this company or organization, we already have this firm's?
Yes.
Employee recognition, $20,000. Did you say something? Oh, I thought you said something. I'm
No.
sorry.
We run an annual recognition for services and bringing in resources as relates to other vendors and those types of things. That's what I'm accustomed to.
What is that, like?
Open
those-
enrollment.
The events? Okay, so the insurance events, when they have the tables outside of in the
We have
hallways
a
and they got the,
yearly, it's a yearly event during open enrollment where we do have those outside vendors. They come in here. We recognize them, staff for tenure.
okay, so this is like an event, more of a, okay. And this cost covers like the,
Right, and we
Food
try
and
to,
drinks
we
and
actually try to
food and
do it twice a year in appreciation for employees.
understood, gotcha. And this is already planned out?
It's normally every October, but that could have changed too.
Yeah, as far as who we're using, what's gonna be, what is this $20,000 gonna be spent on? How will this $20,000 be spent? Is that already mapped out?
It's an annual program, so we don't have all the specifics for the fiscal '27 program, but similar to what happened in the current fiscal year, or similar program to what's in the current fiscal year.
Okay. This department has its own liability insurance? Is that apart from the county, is that separate from the countywide insurance? This liability insurance is $20,000.
This is for the boards, it once was under the board as surety bonds, insurance. We reallocated most of the insurances to the oh wait, let me correct myself. This liability insurance is through VACORP.
Okay,
This will cover any liability insurance for the county.
thought we canceled VACOR.
VACORP?
VACORP?
VACORP.
Corp.
That's where all of our insurances come through.
Yes, okay. Excuse me. IT, information technology. No part-time in IT?
No,
How many full-time employees do we have, or staff?
5.
She said 5. You said 5, right? Maintenance service contracts. Well, no longer, we don't have that anymore. But what was that? That was the guys laying down the wiring, or what was a maintenance service contract?
If you go down to that next line, you see it in a little bit more detail. It's the hardware service contracts. That's the 120. And then the software licensing and those associated fees are in that line directly below that.
Okay,
So that, you'll notice that that first maintenance service contract line, there was no budget in 25 or 26. So those costs that we incur are in the preceding line items.
what's a copier service? Oh, what's a copier service? Maintenance on the copier?
On a contract, yes.
Contract, okay. Computer and equipment. AS 400, we're still, I thought we got a program to make that obsolete. How long are we gonna use AS 400?
This is gonna be a minute.
For a minute?
Yes, sir.
That's on the list
So
of,
we're working dual, like 3 or 4 programs? Just 2
We have
programs?
one, that's our current operating system.
Okay,
That's the only one.
Yeah, that's gonna be a minute or so, sir.
yes, sir. I mean, it's been around for a while.
Ever since I remember, man.
Yeah.
So,
Their gasoline is Public Works now. Books and subscriptions for $100. What's that?
it's a line item that's used throughout departments for very small subscriptions or a manual for a program or a function.
Okay, okay. We go to Public Works. Now, is their salary showing the 2 positions from utilities that we eliminated?
So you'll notice there's 2 different pages.
All right, which one?
So we're on Public Works right now.
Yes,
And your next one, you'll,
that will be in the utilities?
Utilities.
Okay, yes, ma'am, thank you. All right, so let's go. How many regular, how many full-time does Public Work have?
there is approximately 12.
We
We will get,
Yeah, we're gonna send it to
we're
you.
gonna provide,
And
That
just,
and
each
the part-time as well, too?
yes, and I know that last fiscal year, the board did not approve a compensation plan, but you will have a ordinance that has all of the positions listed for approval with the budget-related ordinance. But we'll send you that
Is that
list.
coming up at one of these later dates?
yes.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
but we will still send the list, but just for clarity going forward, that's approved by the board with, it should be approved annually by the board with the budget.
Okay. Now, the contract that was IBS or IMS, or that contract that's 2 or 3 hours away. But we just recently signed off for Public Works to maintain their utilities. Is that proposed here in this budget? Next page.
Next page.
Next page. Okay, say less. I got you. Next page. All right. I'm still on the first page. HVAC services, are we contracting? Is this a third party as well?
No, the Public Works has a number of line items that represent the services that we may do in-house or small contracted out jobs. So what we tried to capture was the predominant type of repairs that we would have for our facilities. And so the electric and HVAC services encompasses things that we do in-house as well as we may have to contract out. But it is routine, not major replacement or anything like that. So this is regular service.
This is for, I guess, the tools or the equipment needed for the operation? Not necessarily, we're not paying the salaries are covering.
Right.
Right. So this will be more geared towards,
This may be
Equipment.
repairs, parts.
Okay.
That sort of thing.
Electrical bills and things of that nature.
okay. And can we get a breakdown of that as well, too?
So a breakdown of what the anticipated spend would be
Yeah, what are they going to spend this $200,000 on? Yes.
is for any HVAC repairs in any county facility.
Right. Understood.
So let's give you an example. You see that the projected amount was 212 for this year.
Yes.
Looking at the trends for the first 6 months, when we had, it's typically, as he said, any HVAC or electrical repairs. Electrical bills are also included in that. We had to replace the HVAC unit in the courtroom. So unexpected costs as well as expected costs drive that amount. So it will be a tad bit difficult to give you exactly what the full 200,000 will be for, but we can give you a historical look.
Okay.
And it's for all facilities in the county.
Can we go to utilities, please? So salaries is now 50, so how many regular staff or full-time positions is under utilities? Just one?
0.5.
0.5 is a part-time person?
No, the public utilities is shown as a different agency, but it's only one director for utilities and public works. So technically, that's a 0.5 full-time equivalent. So that's the salary line for that.
This salary line is showing 50,000 some dollars,
Correct.
and that's going to a half a person?
Correct.
Okay. Now, were we to propose the contract into this?
The contract is contemplated in the professional services line item.
Okay. And so that contract can back up that number, that figure, right?
Yes, but if you recall, I mentioned that we would that was the contract that we approved, we intended to flow this fiscal year, but we would bring another, yes, for
Before,
July 1.
yes, sir.
Right.
So the machinery and equipment, what can we use to justify that 40K? Is that weed whackers and lump? No, this is utilities, so what would that be?
So the one of the things to note about utilities and public works, they would use large line items. For example, Public Works had a facilities maintenance line item that encompassed everything. So what we tried to do was provide more detail in the budget. So machinery and equipment would be things that we would be responsible for purchasing for all of the infrastructure that wouldn't necessarily be through that contracted service. And so historically, even,
Outside of that contract, we're still.
correct.
And this 225,000 or 225,000, that's not for 3 months, that's for the entire fiscal year, for 12 months.
Correct.
Yes, sir. Okay. We go to the,
Now,
oh, sorry.
that also takes in consideration the improvement in our utilities, am I correct?
Yes, and that's why we said that we would bring the contract back, because we are, what we know primarily related to budget is that our utilities fund has been operating at a deficit for many years. And we have many facilities in disrepair under consent order. So we're proposing major investment in our infrastructure, which is what we reviewed in the capital fund. And so we should see some decreases in our maintenance, which is what you see on page 31. But this is something that we have to deploy to be able to realize whatever the efficiencies would be. So the goal with this budget is to make sure that we capture the transfer from the general fund that we know will be needed, and we have a plan in place to control those costs within the proposed fiscal year.
Okay. So will we need to approve the contract first or approve the budget first?
The budget.
Budget. And we will be locked in at that 225K.
Well, I wouldn't say locked in. The budget could be amended at any time.
Right.
But also the goal is to try to get our infrastructure in a place where we can responsibly manage it. So again, just like in other areas of this budget, we're trying to set the groundwork moving forward. If you look at the previous years, or really if you just look at fiscal 26, you see that we adopted 162,000 in professional services, but we're projecting 740,000. And that's because of things that arise that we did not plan for. So we're trying to pre-plan as much as possible with the 27 budget.
Okay. And are you believing that, or assuming, or is your position that that contract would help, I guess, help cost save?
The reason why I haven't set it as a cost savings is because of the deficit
Okay.
in the fund, and it's because it's in the utilities fund. So I hesitate to say that. Also, not to get too deep into the weeds, but the utilities fund is an enterprise fund, which means that the fees we collect are supposed to cover the operation, which is also not occurring. So we're trying to establish a new baseline for our utilities operation. So the line item that you see for professional services is designed to cover the maintenance contract and set us up for whatever we need to do in the future to make sure we're managing that appropriately.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Can we go to combined courts? They didn't ask for much of this year. What's the rental equipment that's being leased?
They have a postal meter, and they rent the postal meter, so this is to cover the cost for that.
Okay. All right, can we go to the next page? Clerk of Circuit Court? This is Ms. Washington. They have no part-time?
No,
Okay. And where are they? Are they with 3 full-time?
we have 3 full-time positions.
Okay. Commonwealth Attorney? They're getting a new position
No,
or a new hire? Okay. They have 1 part-time and 2 full-time? They have 3 or?
so they have 2 full-time positions, and there is a agreement between the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and the county to provide $10,000 to their, she's a paralegal now, position for part-time services.
Did our Commonwealth Attorney request a library, or did he ask about a library this year or anything like that? Okay. Community Development? What are the positions here? Regardless if they're filled or vacant, but how many full-time salaries?
This is for 2 full-time salaries, 1 vacant,
2 full-time, 1 vacant,
no part-time.
okay. Oh, right, gotcha. Now they, well, the former director was vocal about needing an employee or some help in that area. Does it look like we could make that happen for community development? We still have the advertisement out for director? Okay. Any leads on that? Any applications come in?
We've received applications, but no status update on when we'll be able to fill the position.
Okay.
Not at this time.
So if we were to give them or have 1 more person as full-time, well, how will we go about doing that, addressing that, their need for employees? They have the 1 vacancy, but even if that gets filled, 2 people in that department is not going to cut it. So we, I think this is one of the departments that we did a reduction, a force reduction, is that what it's called? What was the terminology that we used when we?
Reduction of workforce.
Reduction of workforce, yes, thank you. This was one of the departments that got hit by that. However, are we going to, is that what the professional services are covering?
The professional services can augment staff. It could also be used for special development review. Part of what the board requested in terms of major proposals, that line item could be used for all those things.
Okay. We have 2 community development pages,
One is for the community division, and the other's for
building code.
building codes.
Building code, we have 2 or just 1?
2.
Is the building code official considered in that too? Okay. Now, that building code official is full-time, or that's a third-party contract that we worked out?
He's full-time supporting the county.
Okay. Excuse me. They have gasoline on here. Is that okay, or is that going to go to Public Works?
Eventually, we left gasoline in community development and the sheriff's office just because of the nature of their vehicle usage.
Can we go to Economic Development, please? Now, this department is seeing a decrease, correct? In their salary? No? There's only one person in this department? Okay. Now, is the county covering the salary, or is that board, EDA board covering the salary?
This is the agreement with the EDA.
So where's this money coming from, this 97,000?
The agreement with the EDA.
So that's coming from the EDA?
Right.
The miscellaneous and special events? What? Well, we'll just stick with the special events. What would these special events be?
I'll send you the full list, but I know that we have, for example, the motorcycle ride we have coming up next month, Five and Dime,
Third Saturday.
third Saturday. I don't want to. So all of those events. I just didn't want to call the wrong name.
Books and subscriptions, 4,000.
Yes, specifically for this department, they have a number of subscriptions that are related to development and tourism. Probably more so than books.
Okay. Was it ever expressed for us to have grants in our economic development where the community can apply? Or community grants? Was that expressed?
Grants to give to businesses from the county.
Yes, yes.
That's not in this budget,
Right, that's what, yes.
but it could be done.
Okay. But has that been expressed?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Parks and Rec? What's their full-time and part-time breakdown? If you don't have it now, we'll get it. Okay, so their professional services is about $45,000. And they don't have any miscellaneous. Okay. So it seems like some departments have professional services and some don't. And this professional services is not, for each department, it could be something completely different. No youth basketball this year? Just coming up?
Yes, there will be youth basketball. We
start
don't
no
want to
mess.
start.
I don't
We don't want
wanna
to start that.
I understand.
If you flip the page, you see a youth sports line item.
Okay.
And so that covers all the youth.
Very nice, yeah. This is Diamond Sports. This was adopted 26 for 25. What's that, baseball?
That was for, the
Anything on the baseball field?
right, but
Okay.
for the sports wise, but it has been rolled into youth sports.
Tracking. Okay, so same with youth soccer, it's all youth sports, so. Special programs, $20,000. What would that be, like a,
Those are for the events that, such as like the Easter egg hunt, the Christmas parade, play all day,
okay, those are Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec related events, yes.
How many ice equipments are we releasing? Ice machines?
Parks and Rec has,
Just one? Yeah.
it's two.
I know how many we have, I don't know what's leased and what's owned, but
They're all leased.
food pantry as well? Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes. But this is just specific to Parks and Rec.
Okay. Now, they're taking care of their own vehicle maintenance? Or we didn't take that out to put it with the others?
They've got some non-fleet vehicles within their department.
I missed, say it again, sir?
They have some non-fleet vehicles. That's kind of like a,
Oh, they got some undercover, unmarked vehicle.
no.
Okay. Is that gonna be enough for county fair? Or is that just a starting point and we plan to get donations?
This is a starting point. They will be seeking sponsorships.
Okay. The boat ramp operations, does that include cleaning out the ramp, clearing the debris, or it's 22,727?
This
Or is that a salary for, okay. And that's part-time or? And now they actually have the title special events here. So they got special programs and then special events.
Special events is for county events such as the Veterans Day program, clergy appreciation,
Parks and Rec takes care of the Veterans Day?
special events. That's what the special events position is.
Okay. So that would be Veterans Day. What else? What would be a special event? Is that parade a special event? Christmas,
July,
most of the holidays? Doing it, 4th of July, so the fireworks and that. Okay, are we doing that concert again, or that whole?
July.
Okay. What'd you say, sir?
No, just.
All right. Can we go to fire and EMS? They have two of these? Yes, ma'am. Two, yes, 48, page 48. I'll get to that next page. What's their numbers looking like for their workforce? Nice. Any part-time? Okay, okay. So 17 total, 2 part-time. Haven't seen overtime, but what's this $60,000 in overtime?
So per the schedule that the fire department works, they do incur overtime with their scheduling.
They required,
This is to account for the overtime that is, basically each shift has the overtime. built
Okay.
in. And this accommodates for it wasn't normally identified as overtime, it was rolled into the salary line. So this is breaking it out so we can account for overtime.
Okay. And that, anything over 40 hours? Or
They're a little different.
they're different?
Yeah, they have a different schedule, but the point for the budget was, if you notice in 26, overtime wasn't budgeted at all.
Yeah, overtime was a budget in 20, was budgeted in 25, but not 26, right?
Right.
Right. And, well, we were going through some things. Well, we still are going through some things. All right. So now we budgeted $60,000 for overtime, and that's to anyone who rates that particular overtime. Once that 60,000 is up, they have to come to the board to request additional? Okay. Department, yes. Okay. Their maintenance service contracts, did that get tied into vehicle repair and maintenance, or? Vehicle repair and maintenance for the fire department is $25,000. Their maintenance service contract is $0.
Yes, they placed it under the items that their cost was related to.
Okay. Okay. Go to the next page. There were, Public Works is taking care of their gasoline? They have a professional services. Yeah, most of these professional services, if we can get a breakdown of what that is for each department. Yes, sir.
I got to take a walk, but keep going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Their line of duty insurance is no longer. Is that supplemented somewhere else? Okay. Do we still have money for their grant for life left over? Their FY '23 for life grant,
Yes.
9,665,000.
These are listed here because in previous years, fire and EMS was represented as a separate fund, but it's not actually a separate fund.
Okay.
So because in the general fund, any funds will lapse, you cannot roll it over. So that's why those lines appear here. But each year for grants that have rollover, they either need to be in the grant fund, expended during the current fiscal year, or be in another fund that allows for rollover.
And I guess we corrected that.
Correct, yes.
Last page, 50. Salaries, EM. Is that emergency? What's the EM?
A lot of this is still related to cleanup, because it was a separate fund, or it was shown as a separate fund, which was not accurate. We just wanted for transparency to show those line items that were being charged to that. But if you'll notice, there's no budget for 26 either for those lines.
Yes. Okay, so they're projected to be a little over. Is this 1.9 gonna prevent that?
The 1.9 is a good number. I don't want to say they're projected to be over because, again, we're cleaning this up. They're represented as a separate fund from the general fund in
Okay.
26. So when we close out, when we get closer to June of this year, we will show how the cleanup in this year sets us up for 27.
Absolutely. Mr. Atkins already covered social services. I don't think I asked, I did have a question about their food pantry. So social services is going to, the food pantry is going to fall under social services now? I remember we made that announcement for a temporary type of thing, but now we're going to make that permanent? We're giving the food pantry to social services?
And that would likely require an MOU that also would need to come to the board.
Yes.
But that is the plan. Social Services administers a number of food insecurity programs, so this would be a greater impact to have our food pantry asset be able to benefit from our social services programming.
Is this something that they could maintain?
Yes.
Is the food pantry still being supported by our community foundation, Charles City Community Foundation?
So it's being supported primarily by the general fund in the current year. And so what you'll notice is, as our finance director said, DSS, Social Services has two funds where their programs are funded out of: CSA, which is the Child Services Act, which is unto itself, and then the DSS fund, which has a transfer from the general fund. So the food pantry at present is covered as a part of that transfer from the general fund.
Okay. Food pantry still has one, well, how many employees do they have now?
One,
One full-time, no part-time.
correct.
Okay. How could we support the food pantry? Well, how could we better support the volunteers at the food pantry? I guess we could. I don't see anything about the volunteers.
Right, they're unpaid.
Yeah, they're unpaid, but normally we would feed them, or, costs associated to get them water, these guys, like, the average age is 70-something.
Right.
Right, we gotta take care of our people. Hey, you know what I'm saying, we gotta take care of our people, yeah.
I do believe she, from time to time, will have a meal appreciation day for them. And those expenses have been covered through her budget.
Okay. Maybe we can revisit the food pantry and see how we could adequately support our volunteers.
Connect all on the miscellaneous.
Yeah, or special events. Yeah, miscellaneous or special events, yes, sir. Okay, we have workforce development. Now, is there expiration on this grant? Is this grant coming to an end soon, or do we re-up on it?
From my understanding, the grant, this is coming to the end of life this year, but it's going before the CLEO board to extend. Like, it's up to the CLEO board if they are going to continue or end the grant. So
Okay.
it could be up for renewal.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I sit on the CLEO board, and
I think, I don't know about the board, but I believe that May time is April, May is when those discussions are had.
okay.
And then they notify the county of what their decisions.
Is the county, where's the county position at? We want to continue this work with the children?
Yeah,
kids.
we've included it in the fiscal '27
Okay.
budget.
And this is for just one person in this department?
Yes.
No part-time?
No.
Have they expressed the need for help or part-time or anything like that?
No.
Okay. What's the WEX participant? $32,000. Work experience participant. What's that, $32,000? Is that the salary for the
Yes.
children?
That is the line item where when the kids work, they are paid.
Okay.
Stipend.
Stipend, yep. And 3,000 in incentives, what's that covering?
So the kids are opted for incentives. They get incentives for completing certain education requirements, graduating, diploma, report cards. They can receive monetary awards for doing
What?
those activities
All
or
right.
achieving those activities.
Okay. think we had some in the non-departmental. All right, telecom enterprise-wide, $350,000. What's that? Is that our phone system?
Yes.
It's not a set figure? Is this a new?
So the IT department has worked over the course of probably 2 fiscal years to try to be more efficient with those costs. So this is based on the number of devices we have and other things, but they
It's
adopted.
like our laptop and equipment.
Similar, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if you'll notice, the adopted budget in fiscal '26 was 450, so we believe through that kind of efficiency monitoring that 350 is the more appropriate number. And you'll notice that we're projecting to only spend 300,000 in '26.
And then the leftover, what, if any, where does that, back to the general fund?
Fund balance.
Fund balance. This fringe benefits, it's no longer, was that a contract that got cut off, or?
No,
This has gone into human resources.
Okay, so consolidating that, so human resources is taking that over.
right.
I'm sorry. Oh, you have to,
Oh, I'm
they
not,
can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, there you go. All right, well, let's take it back from the top and say everything all over.
Wait a minute, I haven't been off that long.
Okay. All right, so non-departmental has professional services at $95,000, I'm sorry, at $195,000. What's that?
Which page is that? Oh, you-
67,
67.
item 3.
Oh, yes. That's the landfill monitoring that we have related to the landfill.
That's the landfill monitoring?
That's
Is
the
that
expenditure.
solely the landfill monitoring?
It's the expenditure for our landfill.
Okay, what, is it gonna be used for anything else outside of landfill monitoring?
No.
Can we label it as
This
landfill
is,
monitoring?
this is our Jacobs.
Okay. Motor vehicles, it's not there, but we took care of that, that's the 45,000.
Right.
All right, this health department, this is the one that's on Atkins Road,
Yes, sir.
This is the Chickahominy, yes.
Chickahominy Health. Okay,
And these are the contributions from our outside agencies.
yes, okay. Henrico area, what's that, service board or,
That's the mental health.
okay, at the Roxbury Industrial Complex
And problem 4.
and Providence Forge, yes, sir, yep. SPAN, $8,000,
That was Senior Connection. They changed name.
okay. Charles City Community on Aging, is that what that is?
Yeah, the Committee on Aging.
Committee on Aging? Bridges of Change. Now, before they will come, have we got to that point yet? Or are we going to have that non-department or these agencies will come in and present to the board? They will have, why they're asking for $8,000 or $150-some thousand. Are we not doing that, or is that still going to occur? Or this is it? This is them coming to us right now with this.
Yes, and most of them, many of them is our contribution based on the annual commitment. There are a few that is more of a request-based style, but for example, that's why the historical funding is there, so you can see the agencies that requested an increase. Not to skip down, we can go back, but for example, the regional library, they had.
Is that the Heritage Regional
Yes, the
Library?
Heritage Regional Library requested a minor increase.
Yes.
Our contribution to CVWMA represents a small increase. Same with Plan RVA. So
Okay.
this is based on their request, Crater Planning District as well. So most agencies that we fund annually, they'll do, I don't want to call it a cost of living adjustment, but a moderate adjustment from year to year.
And did they provide us with why they need the 106, why they need the increase?
Yes.
What they're going to use it on?
Well, most of them is in their letter, it's a increase based on kind of inflationary type increase. There's nothing particularly unique about any of the funding amounts for those agencies in this budget.
Okay. Bridges of Change, $10,000. Did they increase that or did we increase that?
That was their
Yes.
request for 26,
Okay, so we're just keeping it.
and that was their request for 27 also.
Perfect. Feed More, $10,000. Triad. Chicken Hominy Area Triad. We just gave them an award, right? Was that the same group?
That was the award, yes, that they provided to sheriff.
We're not funding the Community Foundation this year?
That is what's proposed, yes.
Is there a reason behind that, or?
Part of the contribution supported the food pantry, so as it relates to the transition there.
Okay. I remember in years past, well, however long I've been here, we were contemplating some of these agencies not being funded, or some of these agencies, you know, especially when we were in the midst of level funding. I was wondering if those contemplations had made it to your desk as far as reducing or even not even fund, how can I say, funding these agencies.
Well, we vetted all of the proposals, so for example, that's why you see the Community Foundation is probably the most drastic change. Everyone else, because it represents a regional commitment, if there was an increase, it was moderate, kind of inflationary. There's really no other anomalies in terms of their historical funding versus what we have proposed in 27. There's also not a lot of, I would say, independent requests that are, well, there are no new requests for organizations to provide funding in 27. So these represent historical commitments, inflationary increases, and we did vet the requests best as possible for what we put in the FY 27 proposed.
Okay.
And I say best as possible, meaning we did vet it, but an inflationary increase is not necessarily an additional service or we're getting something additional. It just represents the rise in costs.
Understood. Yes, sir. Thrive Virginia is still at 20,000. They have their, that's this Friday, they have their event coming up this Friday.
At Harrison Park.
Yeah, I was trying to definitely pinpoint or highlight some of these agencies that we're funding and how they give back, or in what way they give back. Pretty much, what are we getting, what are we spending this money on?
Span, you got the cafe that operates 3 days a week.
Is that the senior cafe? Is that on here? Oh,
Span.
right. Now, they have, I don't know if they have formally done it, but they have requested, you know, additional support in certain areas. I don't know if it's made it up to your way, but is that $8,000 gonna cover some of the things that they would like to have? I mean, you know, they want recliners and things like that.
Well, this was per their request.
Okay,
So what they request is what you see.
Okay.
for.
And they do have one recline.
they do.
Yeah.
They want another one. Capital Trail Foundation, $5,000. Crater Planning, are we still with Crater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that's 15, that's up a couple $100, couple dollars. Capital Region Workforce. Okay, this is our fees, our dues to be in there, right? Gotcha. Well, this should come down because we made a nice vote, so it should be around $2,000 now. Civil War Trails. So Water and Conservation.
And Soils and Conservation did provide you with their annual review, and I've spoken with Scott, and there have been many resources, not the last year, but a year before last, tremendous amount on conservation and water work.
And that was that packet that you gave us the last
Yes,
meeting?
sir.
Yes, sir. Virginia Institute of Government, we're no longer being a part of that?
No, that moved to the county administrator, though.
Okay. All right, so the general fund contingency. I am a little concerned that, and some citizens as well, that we're not giving back to our general fund. Why is that?
So the contingency is not given back to the general fund. The contingency line was budgeted in '26 as a line to be able to use for unplanned expenses. But we've improved the way that we've laid out this budget. So many of our unplanned expenses are in those professional services line items. For example, in the current fiscal year, this contingency was used to do emergency repairs.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense that when you said professional.
Right.
Yes, sir, right, absolutely.
And the goal with that is to be more transparent. It's not just a line item that's kind of a catch-all, which the non-departmental is somewhat of a catch-all in general. So we tried to do our best to make sure that things are put in their appropriate places so that folks know the full picture.
Okay. Contracts and obligations, 83,000.
Yes,
What obligations do we have?
that represents the severance commitment from prior administration. That was previously budgeted in the county administrator's office.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yep. So, and that's it of that, the 83,000, and after the 83,000, there's nothing else?
Right, correct. In fiscal '27.
Okay. And again, countywide insurance, I've seen that a couple times.
That is for property.
Okay. What I didn't see is the volunteer fire department.
That is listed under fire and EMS.
Oh, okay, can we go back to
I believe
that?
it was on that second page.
How much are they, or page 50 or 50,000?
It's on page 49.
Yeah, page 49. Okay. So the volunteer fire department contribution is going to be taken out of the fire and EMS budget?
The contribution for the line item is in the fire and EMS department.
Okay. That was once his own line item in his own agency? It wasn't?
Volunteer,
Yeah,
it was always presented where it is now.
okay. They didn't get 50,000 in '26?
40 40,000 is what's budgeted in '26.
Okay,
Their contribution is based on an MOU that they have with the county, and so disbursements are made once they do what they contemplated in the MOU request.
okay. Yeah, with the fire department, I always was a good firm believer that if they're answering and running and handling 10% of the calls, then they should probably get 10% of the budget, you know? So you're saying their funding is based on the MOU? Does the MOU say that we're giving them 50,000, or the MOU say, is the MOU breaking down how we're paying or we're contributing to or supporting our volunteers, fire department?
Right, and they're volunteers, so it's unpaid.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean, you know, in terms of percentage of budget, so they make a request for the items that they get. It's not for compensation, is what I was trying to.
Right, yeah. I think their insurance alone, one insurance was like 35,000 or 40,000 or something like that.
So their contribution is based on what they request
Okay.
in terms of what they plan to need throughout the fiscal year.
Their contribution is based off of what they request. Gotcha.
Make a request per the MOU for things like equipment, not compensation, things like equipment that.
Of course, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Equipment, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Maintenance or insurance, all that.
Right, anything that they may ask for,
What did they ask for this year?
100,000.
They also asked for 100,000 in '26.
I thought they asked for 75. Okay. And they're asking for 100,000 and we're giving them 50? Is it breaking the bank to give them what they're asking for?
Well, part of it is based on what their projected spend in the current year. So we would like to, we could fund the full request, but I think the historical funding, they haven't hit those milestones in the MOU to get the disbursements from their previous allocations.
At any point, does the workload that they do, the calls that they answer, the amount of calls that they respond to, does that factor into anything?
Based on the MOU is already in place, so I would say it certainly factors into the safety of the county, but related to the MOU and this funding contribution is based on the MOU and their requests.
Okay. I don't have their MOU in front of me, so I don't know where we're getting the $50,000 from based off the MOU if their request is 100, if their request is 100,000. I'm not too sure what their numbers are looking like, but the last event, I was talking to one of the volunteers, and they were definitely, they have increased significantly. Again, this is, very important work that they're doing. They're saving lives. So if they're asking for $150,000 and they're, whatever they're asking for, $100,000, and they are indeed, the last time I had this conversation with our fire chief and the volunteer fire chief, it was around 10% of the calls that they answer. That's a significant number. So, the fire department, they pretty much run off the calls. So if our volunteers are responding to 10% of that, and this is 2 years ago, so I don't know what they're responding to now. However, I would like to know the reason why they're requesting 100,000 and why we're only going to give them half of that. Yeah.
Sure. The primary reason is if you look at the historical funding, the board adopted 50,000 in '25, 40,000 in '26. So we increased it to the 50,000. I don't believe that they have received the 40,000 that they've spent or drawn down the 40,000 in the current year. So the request or the funding that's here is primarily based on the fiduciary responsibility of evaluating that request. We can entertain an amendment, but we wanted to provide the financials about what has been happening historically based on the agreements that have been in place.
Okay.
And I also I add that because I think your point is well taken about the service they provide, but I don't think the funding is directly tied to that service as is contemplated in the MOU and the agreement.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a time where we funded that, this county has funded that volunteer fire department. I mean, well, obviously, you know that there was a time where the volunteer fire department was all we had. Right, yeah. Okay. But yeah, if they could, if they're requesting $100,000, we're only giving them half of that. I don't know if that's acceptable. All right, gentlemen, I think that is it for me. Most of the questions, again, I don't believe they're going to get answered tonight. We have to go back and provide that, and you can provide that to me, email. That's perfectly fine. But the department breakdowns, when it comes to professional services, professional developments, the dues and the memberships, especially some of the big ticket items. Definitely gonna need some type of explanation or some words behind that justifying why you need it and what's it gonna be used for as close to the best of your ability as possible. Yeah.
We'll send to the board the personnel complement for countywide. We will outline the professional services in each department and what the planned or historical uses of that line item has been. We will provide the types of dues and subscriptions, the associations. We can provide that information. Is there anything else?
No, again, most of it was just me not knowing that you guys were consolidating and moving things around, and just picked that up tonight, so.
Okay.
I appreciate
We'll
it.
send a copy of this presentation too, which tries to highlight the main format changes, and so we'll send that as well.
Okay. And the next time we meet? We're meeting on the 16th, that's the next time we're meeting? Oh, no,
No, that's
yeah,
public hearing.
the public hearing, right. We're not here on the 9th in any official capacity?
That's a Q&A for the community. The 16th is the public hearing for the public, so that's an official board meeting.
Okay, so is the 9th an official board meeting?
No, it's the community meeting.
Are you handling that?
Yes.
Okay.
The team,
What time is it on the 16th, Mr. Rogers?
6 o'clock.
And on the 9th?
6 o'clock.
And the 28th, that's our regular, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
And on the 9th, this will be an opportunity for our citizens to ask questions.
Correct.
And that's, who's answering those questions?
The team.
Is there another person?
This is the team right here.
When I hear team, I'm
This
thinking like,
budget is lean, sustainable,
got
no
you.
additional FTEs.
all right. Well, those are my knee-jerk questions. And again, when we have the more details, we can get.
Okay, we will get the board those documents by Thursday, and we can, anytime, we're available anytime for any additional requests or meetings or anything as we go through this process.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The 9th, what does that 9th fall on?
Mr. Hill, any questions?
No, sir.
Yep, Thursday at 6.
Any other items? If not, we'll be adjourned. Thank you.